Hello again, Arnie, Marjorie, and Jacob.
I want to play a game.
You've reviewed all the films in the Saw series, but your tests continue with a new chapter.
We need to talk, we need to think.
See what I see, hear what I hear. But be warned, this challenge is not without risk, and will be filled with harsh language and detailed spoilers. Live or die. Make your choice.
Today we're discussing Saw 10, starring Tobin Bell, Shawnee Smith, Sunuva Miklodi-Lund, Stephen Brand, Renata Vaca, Michael Beach, directed by Kevin Grutert. This is not a podcast, it's a reawakening, and this is Arnie, co-host of Now Playing.
This is Marjorie, and I'm ready to play games.
And this is the co-host with epic bad luck, Jacob.
Epic bad luck to be on the 10th Saw installment for Now Playing, Jacob.
I mean, it's a mixed blessing. This is what got me on Now Playing, but it's also the curse.
It's hard to believe that we have almost as many Saw films as we have Friday the 13th films. They just keep cranking these out. It's only been 2.5 years since Spiral. It seems like Spiral was just yesterday.
Does it? I don't remember anything about it.
I completely forgot about it, other than it had the guy from The Handmaid's Tale in it, and it seemed like it was like 10 years ago because of COVID. Like, COVID was like an extra 5 to 8 years added onto everything.
I went back and re-listened to our podcast, and that was one of the first films we saw, like, post-COVID shutdown, and it was kind of funny because it was not very good. It was not a great trip to the theater for us. And, you know, I rewatched the entire Saw franchise. When we did Spiral, one of our listeners kind of called me out because I didn't remember the differences between Saw 3D and Jigsaw very well. I was getting some of those confused.
I mean, look, is there a difference? I feel like this franchise has one trick, and it does it every film.
Well, I did a complete rewatch. I watched all 9 previous Saw films leading up to this one, and I have to say, not the greatest of film series, if I'm being honest. And when I look at our arrows on the website, not getting a lot of recommends, but it's certainly had its high points. But wow, watching them all in the span of a couple of weeks, it's kind of a rough series that gets ridiculous pretty quickly.
That's because it delves into, like, daytime soap opera territory. Like, the second one, like, what the hell was that? I understood that they had a movie. They're like, hey, we got to make this a Saw movie because it's a hot property right now. But then you get into this, like, Detective Hoffman crap that is just, like, excuse the pun, but spiraling out of control with ridiculousness. And you just kind of lose interest. And then you find out that Jigsaw had, like, 3 apprentices all at the same time, but they didn't know each other and they weren't working together. This guy must have never slept. He was so busy with apprentices and traps and everything.
I just gotta say, is this the most based horror franchise? My memory is, like, this all happened because we don't have universal health care in America. Like, something about his wife dying, and he's got cancer, and going after doctors. Like, yeah, foggy memories. When I'm driving to the theater to go see this one, my wife's like, so what's the story? What do I need to know going into this? I'm like, I don't know. I don't remember those films. It's always a bunch of people tangentially connected. They've done something bad, and Jigsaw's gonna punish them.
So if that's what you remember of them, I was curious, what did you know about Saw 10 going in? Because what I had read is that this was taking place between part 1 and part 2. And having watched the film, I can't imagine what you would think if you didn't know this was that interquel.
Yeah, never saw a trailer for this. Never popped up before a movie I saw in theaters. Never showed up on my algorithm on YouTube. Like, I've seen that Exorcist trailer a million times as a pre-roll ad on YouTube. Never this one. So I knew nothing going in except, like, I know the formula, and I had heard that this was, yeah, Tobin Bell is back. I know he died at some point, and Shawnee Smith is back, and yeah, this was falling in between some old Saw films. I didn't know which ones it was falling in between. I still couldn't tell you. You're saying 1 and 2? Shawnee Smith was introduced that early?
Yeah, she was in 1.
Huh, okay. I remember her popping up in, like, 3 or something. Something about needles.
That's because she survived in 1, and then in 2, she was running the game from the inside for Jigsaw, which Donnie Wahlberg was a cop looking for his son that had been kidnapped.
Oh, that's right. We had a Wahlberg in this.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was one of the worst of the series, and I think it might be a coincidence.
Yeah, I didn't see a trailer for this until a week before seeing it, and that was something that had bothered me a little bit. I'm like, is this movie really coming out? I didn't see a trailer until I went and saw Expendables 4, which is another Lionsgate release. They attached the Saw 10 trailer to Expendables, so then I saw it. I kind of wish I hadn't. It gave away everything.
Yeah, I watched the trailer after I saw the film because I was curious. What was the marketing for this? Well, we'll talk about the film. I thought it was pretty predictable. And oh boy, I would have been really upset if I would have been Brock level spoiler upset. I know he's very sensitive to spoilers. And I got it with that trailer where they showed you everything, the entire plot, every death, everything.
Okay, so I had not seen a trailer, and my knowledge of this movie coming out was Saw Patrol, because it's opening the same weekend as Paw Patrol, and they're trying to do a Barbieheimer thing.
Not working. It's not organic. Stop it, people.
Yeah, but it's fun to say Saw Patrol. It's just kind of fun. I had not seen a trailer for this movie whatsoever. So all I knew was Saw Patrol, Jigsaw Returns, and Shawnee Smith Returns. And that's all I knew. I knew nothing about the movie. I still haven't seen the trailer. I should probably go back and watch it and be like, oh crap, I'm glad I didn't see that, because it sounds like I basically saw the movie there. But I knew nothing. Oh, and then I knew it was between 1 and 2. And that's all I knew.
Yeah, I think I told you that when I was doing my research.
Yeah.
The one thing I think all of us saw, I remember this from our text chain though, there was a trailer that was amazing. They parodied the Nicole Kidman AMC ad, only instead of Nicole Kidman, you had the Billy puppet and you had lines like, self-amputation feels good in a place like this. I loved that ad, and I said if they could come a 10th of that ad in cleverness with this movie, it would be the best Saw film ever.
I don't go to AMC, so that was lost on me. I had to go and look up, what was the original Nicole Kidman bit that you guys are always talking about, because, yeah, I don't go to AMC, so I didn't get all the references. It was wasted on me.
Oh, so that's like a whole thing where sometimes at AMC movies, people will stand up and put their hand over their heart and recite it along with Nicole Kidman.
Wow, it's become an institution at this point.
It has, and it's really great. It's been parodied on SNL, and I mean, everybody rips on it, and they think they have this great thing, but it's become like a Rocky Horror of pre-movie ads. And they also did a great thing on Twitter, or now X, if you want to call it that, where they took Billy on his little tricycle and took him around on a tour and took pictures of him in famous places all over the world. It was kind of cute. And they did a good job of getting that in front, but again, no trailers.
That's good. I mean, you want to raise awareness for the film. You don't want to spoil the entire film the way the actual trailer did. Yeah, I saw on TikTok the Billy puppet was being remote controlled down the streets of Beverly Hills. That was kind of fun. Everybody was filming Billy as he was just tricycling around.
You know, if Saw could ever get out of 2004 or 2005, whatever year it's stuck in, maybe we could get real Billy on TikTok in the film. That might be fun.
Lionsgate has a bunch of TikToks with Tobin Bell, and he looks uncomfortable and confused in reciting these lines with no enthusiasm. I guess I'm supposed to let this guy control something, and it pans to a shot of Billy with a recorder or something. And then another one, he just goes, do you want to play a game? Not at all in the movie. He's totally just I have to do these for contractual obligations, people.
So if he's on Cameo, you're saying don't get the Tobin Bell cameo. He's not going to be as exciting.
Yeah, I'd skip that. Maybe if Billy's doing one, that would be kind of cool.
Well, this film, I did some reading up on it. This was supposed to be Saw 9. We've got some people returning to the Saw franchise. The director, he did Saw 6 and Saw 3D, or the final chapter as they've renamed it if you're watching it on iTunes, because it's not in 3D. Not exactly great pedigree of returning director, but he is coming back. He's also been a longtime editor on the franchise since part 1. And then the writers are the writers of Jigsaw and of Spiral. And again, that kind of worried me coming in because those weren't my two favorite of the franchise. I felt like they'd kind of lagged there at the end. But this was what they were working on 5 years ago, pre-COVID. And then apparently Chris Rock came to them and is like, I have an idea. I'm going to write it. I'm going to direct it. I'm going to star in it. And when Chris Rock comes, you put all other plans on hold and do the Chris Rock Spiral film. And then when that doesn't make huge bank, you go back and do the thing you were going to do to begin with.
I was wondering, are they doing like a Windows 10 thing here where they're fudging the numbers? But I guess Spiral counts. That was number 9, even though it was from the Book of Saw, whatever that means. Still don't know, even though I've seen that movie. But that was number 9, even though it didn't have that. It didn't even really have the name Saw in it, except for that subtitle. But here we are. We got to have that X, Fast X, now Saw X. We got to have 10. So here we are.
Would you have preferred Spiral 2? Would you have preferred Chris Rock back?
I don't remember anything about Spiral except Chris Rock, so I don't know that it played out the same as any other Saw movie. So yeah, you could have just had Chris Rock as a character here and told me it was a Spiral sequel.
Yeah, but Spiral isn't really a sequel because it's a copycat Jigsaw. So does it even really count as a sequel?
I mean, so it's like Friday the 14th, 4 or 5 or whatever one had the copycat Jason. That's a thing in horror films.
But yeah, I mean, I guess technically it's Saw 10, but 9 doesn't really count as a sequel. I feel like this should have been tangentially related instead of actually a sequel, like a Saw series or something. But here we are. It's Saw X, or Socks.
Socks.
Now, when I went, I've seen this movie twice in theaters. I went Thursday night for the premiere, and it was pretty dead empty. There were 5 of us in the theater that seats like 200 people. 3 of us were sitting alone, and then there was 1 couple, and they were all probably about my age. So it was a nice, quiet viewing for my first time.
Yeah, I had a similar experience. A little bit more than 5, but it was a big theater, about 200 seats, and there was maybe 30 of us there. I was the oldest, though. Like, it was all teenagers, oldest maybe 25. Like, it was a young crowd, which was kind of a surprise because I feel like this is an old franchise. Like, we're on number 10 here, but it's going way back.
And I joined for the Friday night viewing. I only needed to see this once. And our theater had probably like 15 people on it, which surprisingly some young kids, which, I mean, I'm talking like 10 or younger. And yeah, I grew up watching Friday the 13th and Halloween with my mom and everything. But those aren't as gory and intense as Saw, I feel. So I'm not a parent, so maybe this is something kids can handle. But I thought it was a little bit much for those kids. But they didn't scream or run out, so I guess it was okay.
Yeah, a couple of those girls were so young that when they had to leave mid-movie to go to the bathroom, their mother had to accompany them. I mean, we're talking that level age. I was feeling like this was very inappropriate for them.
Yeah, it was like weird mix of like a couple of families with young kids, some younger people together, like there's 2 younger women sitting in the same aisle as us, and they were absolutely terrible and talked on the phone, made noise during the movie, and maybe some other couples, but it was a weird mix of people for a Saw movie, I thought.
Well, what did that weird mix see? Arnie, give us a plot.
It's been just a few weeks since the events of the first Saw film, and in Saw 10 we see Jigsaw John Kramer, played by Tobin Bell, focused not on making traps but on his own health. His cancerous brain tumor has given him just months to live, and no doctors offer any hope. We even see John go to group therapy for cancer patients. And from that group comes a hope. One member of the group, Henry, has been cured from stage 4 pancreatic cancer. He found a Dr. Peterson in Norway who had an experimental treatment combining surgery and medicine, and now Henry is in full remission. Seeing a possible cure for himself, John reaches out to this Peterson group. The main doctor is in hiding from Big Pharma, but his daughter, Cecilia Peterson, is continuing his treatments. John contacts her and finds out she's working just outside Mexico City and she can work him into the schedule. John travels to Mexico and undergoes the brain surgery and starts the medicine regimen. But when he returns to the hospital to thank the staff for the miracle they gave him, he finds the place abandoned. Looking around, he discovers it was all a scam. He never even had surgery. They just took his money and ran. With the help of Detective Mark Hoffman, played by Costas Mandylor, John tracks down all the people involved with the scam. Then, with the aid of his apprentice Amanda, again played by Shawnee Smith, Kramer goes into full Jigsaw mode. He kidnaps the grifters and brings them back to the abandoned hospital where he has set up a series of traps. He also takes Cecilia's bag of cash, with which she was about to abscond. These traps brutalize the grifters. The fake surgeon has to cut pipe bombs out of his arms. The fake anesthesiologist has to cut out a piece of his own brain with no anesthesia. The fake nurse has to cut off her own leg and siphon out a few ounces of marrow, and so on. Most fail these tests and die, but a couple survive. Watching all this is Cecilia, whose trap is being saved for last. Then, interrupting the tests, comes Parker Sears, who is pretending to be a scammed cancer patient like John, but in fact he's in on the grift and is Cecilia's lover. He came to rescue her and pulls a gun on John and Amanda. Cecilia is rescued from her chains, and Parker locks up John and Amanda. Cecilia and Parker then decide to make John the victim of his own trap, and, to make it worse, they grab local boy Carlos off the streets and tie him up with John. John and Carlos are both subjected to waterboarding, only it's blood instead of water, and Parker and Cecilia watch until they can't take anymore. Then they go to get their cash. But John saw all this coming. He knew Parker was in on the scam and needed to lure the man to the trap. When the two grab the money bag, John and Carlos's torture ends, and Parker and Cecilia are trapped in a gas chamber where only one can survive. Cecilia stabs Parker to save her own life, but she's helpless but to watch as John, Amanda, and Carlos walk out of the abandoned building. And John gives the bag with hundreds of thousands of dollars to Carlos as credits roll. To a mid-credits scene, it seems that Henry, the guy who told John about the treatment, was in on the scam. John and Detective Hoffman now have Henry chained up with a trap that looks like it's going to dig into Henry's stomach as the rest of the credits roll. And as they start, I was really happy. Lionsgate brought back their old logo, the one with all the gears and things, the one that feels like a saw trap.
They got rid of that?
Yeah, they've gone to just Lionsgate in the clouds behind some doors and things, but they brought back the old saw-ish logo for this. I was happy to see them getting in on the spirit of things.
And one of the things I did know going into this, nothing about what the plot is, but I guess it's part of the marketing. I guess people still care about Rotten Tomatoes, even though they've had their big scandal lately. But this was like an 83% at one point on Rotten Tomatoes, which, like, that means it's good, actually, maybe? Question mark. So I did go in with piqued interest because of that. Like, people were saying this is the best Saw film. I don't know what that means. If I can remember it after a year, maybe it is the best one because these ones quickly leave my mind. But yeah, as we get in there, it's a lot of character work with Tobin Bell. A lot of, this is, I think, the longest. I don't remember Saw films going almost 2 hours, and this film is almost 2 hours, and it's a lot of this first act.
Yeah, it's the longest after Saw 3. Saw 3 was, I think, in the extended cut around 110 minutes, and this one's almost 120. But most come in at a tight 90. Having rewatched them all, I was easily able to get in like 2 a night, because it was just the length of Oppenheimer to watch 2 Saw movies.
Yeah, this was really, really long, and I was really hoping that all the time they spent on this first act was going to pay off. And then I started to think that maybe how they got Tobin Bell back, because let's face it, he's an older man now. He's like in his 80s, isn't he, Arnie? Isn't that what we figured out?
Yeah.
And, I mean, not many people are acting that old, and he's got to be tired of maybe being Jigsaw. But I wondered if they had to give him, like, a story, quote unquote, and this is his ending kind of thing. Like, this is the last one he'll be in, and he got, like, to act in it versus just, do you want to play a game or torturing people?
What's crazy is, so you're telling me this is between 1 and 2. He has always had cancer. I thought that was a development that happened. Now, I know they're always jumping around the timeline with these films, but I thought that came in like part 4 or something. But this is like right after he tortured Carrie Elways, he's off getting checked up by the doctor, getting that CAT scan.
Yeah, if you recall, and you don't.
Nope.
Carrie Elways, the whole reason he was being tested is because he wasn't very empathetic when he gave Tobin Bell the diagnosis that you have a fatal brain tumor. He didn't have a good bedside manner. He didn't care enough about his patients, and so he got locked up and had to cut his own foot off. So yeah, the cancer story was in there from part 1. Kind of a good thing to give a serial killer because they literally have nothing to lose when they're going to die anyway. So even if they get arrested, they're not going to even survive trial. So no, that's always been part of his story.
And I do think that's something interesting that they toy with during this first act. You could rename this film not Saw X, but how Jigsaw got his groove back, because he seems to be going through like a existential crisis here. Like he's going to support groups. I love it. Like he's eyeing this orderly in the hospital who's stealing someone's stuff, or they're touching that wallet and those keys. And then you cut to this torture scene and I'm like, oh man, Jigsaw just like isn't even feeling this. Like it feels like, while being a janitor is a very noble profession, like you have sticky fingers. Like I'm like, maybe it's Tobin Bell not into it, maybe it's Jigsaw. He has just lost his passion for killing at this point.
That was a hell of a trap, though, and it made like a good visual for the poster I noticed they had in the theater on the way out. Because I'm not squeamish about eyes, but a lot of people are squeamish about eyes.
Arnie is.
Yes.
Oh, I know. That freaks them out. But I think it's a good visual because it does freak a lot of people out, like in Hostel, where the girl's eye was hanging out. Yep, see? But it made a good visual. That was my point because of people like Arnie, where it makes them squirm a little.
Yeah, this one, though, didn't make me squirm. I remember everybody was asking, what is on that poster? Because it looked like old school tube light bulbs were shoved into somebody's eyes.
Yeah, fluorescent tubes.
Yes, and it's just a couple of hoses attached to the eyes, and when they got sucked out, it seemed more comedic than gory. They could have really shown the eyes bulge like that woman in the 90s who could really pop her eyeballs out and things. You could have really gone gory with this, but it's all a dream sequence. This isn't even a real trap. This is just there because we're going to go about 45 minutes of this movie without any gore, without any traps, without anything. This, I think, is the only sign you're actually in a Saw film for the first 45 minutes of this movie. It's crazy to me because usually Saw films open with a trap, they open with a bang, you start with some gore. This is going a completely different way with it. This is going to be a cancer drama for 45 minutes with the exception of this little fantasy sequence.
Yeah, my memory is you usually start with a bunch of people trapped and then you get the backstory fed out by flashbacks throughout the film. Maybe that's not the formula. That's my memory of how most Saw films go.
No, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is why I would have been super upset if I saw that trailer, because in the trailer, it's like, yes, we're going to cure you, John. And, oh, you guys lied to me. Like, I knew that's what was going on anyway in this, but I would have just been doubly as mad if I was sitting through this and had that confirmed because I saw that trailer.
This would have worked so much better had it not been something that interjected like 10, 15 years later, because we obviously know that Jigsaw dies and the entire setup, it looks like a scam. Spoiler, it was. And obviously they didn't write it back then, but it would have worked so much better before seeing the other part of the series.
And we've all aged since Saw 1, so I'm not being mean to the actors, but if you tried to watch the Saw films in Saw chronological order instead of in release order, I mean, John Kramer is supposed to be 50 years old in this movie. Tobin Bell was 61 when they started. He's 81 now. Shawnee Smith has gotten older.
Yeah, I'll have stuff to say when we get to Shawnee Smith and they try to put a Snapchat filter over her face to smooth it, but Tobin Bell, like, isn't this what he just always looks like? Like, to me, he did not stand out as being older. I just assume he's always old and cranky looking.
It's shocking if you go back to Saw 1 how healthy he looks and how young and vital he looks. You just don't think of it that way. It's kind of like when you go back and watch Captain America: The First Avenger and you're like, wow, Chris Evans was young. And like X-Men 1 as seeing how young Hugh Jackman looked.
But he's going to be having a coffee, and one of the guys from his cancer group, support group, just shows up. Now, we're going to find out Henry here. This was all a plan. John was a mark. Like, Henry would go around, like, spying on people from that support group to try to rope him into this scam. Is that what we're supposed to conclude by the end of this film?
Yeah, it's quite a long con they've got going on.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess this Henry guy infiltrates a group, a cancer support group, figures out who's got the money to pay cash for this, and then tries to figure out where they're going to be so he can be like, hey, I'm cured. Look at my scar. They fixed me up. It only cost $250,000. And I guess that kind of plays into it because we do hear John say what his career was, which kind of sounds like a kind of career that could afford this kind of thing. So perhaps that's where it is. But it's a crazy long con, and I feel that they can make just as much money with things that don't require as much intense setup and work.
I just was laughing the second time I saw this film because I imagined this guy Henry following John around, like going to the same restaurants, going to the same coffee shop, like,
yeah.
When is John going to notice me? When is he going to call me over and I can start telling him about this cancer cure? I just picture it like a comedy of errors.
And I guess I was still hopeful because I had heard best Saw film ever. So I'm like, maybe they're going to really surprise me. When Henry pulls his shirt up, you see, frankly, what looks like a scar that Jigsaw would give you. I'm like, oh, maybe they're going to turn the tables somehow that, yeah, Jigsaw is the one that's going to be tortured for wanting to cure his cancer or something, because that's a horrific looking scar.
Yeah, and I believe he had pancreatic cancer is what it was in the group, and I don't know why they'd have to completely cut him open and then go around his belly button. That was a little bit puzzling there. I mean, I'm no doctor, but it just seems like that is not how you would remove a pancreas or operate on it when it's, sternum to groin, but avoiding the belly button.
Yeah, it looked like some kind of butchery scar. It did not look like a surgical scar, the way that it was all curved like that. I was like, he went to some backwoods Andy Kaufman like fake cure place based upon that scar.
Well, that's where I could almost see a good Saw film here, where Saw has never been funny or never really leaned into satire. Yeah, they've done some commentary like on the American healthcare system and that, but I never felt like they pushed that far enough. It's far too serious for its own good, but I started early on getting, you got to go to this secret doctor that's like in hiding. Like, this is ivermectin the movie? Like, look, people, stop your angry emails. I know there's real reasons to use it. I'm being funny here. But yeah, it's about grifters, and we saw a lot of that during COVID, like shine the sun into your blood somehow and it will cure everything. Like, I've got a feeling, you're saying they started this before COVID, but this did feel like a response to a lot of the medical grifting that went on, and it's just never funny enough. Like, they'll never lean into satire enough for these Saw films to make them enjoyable.
I gotta give this film a shout out because I got really upset with the continuity. I'm like, there was a movie already, Saw 6, where John went to his insurance agency and said, look, there's an experimental treatment in Norway. And the insurance company said, not only aren't we going to cover this treatment, but if you go and get this treatment that's not approved, we're going to drop you from insurance and not pay for any of your treatments. And I'm like, wait, he goes to Mexico City, but then it does turn out this guy Henry said he had to go to Norway, or the doctor was in Norway.
Yes.
So they actually kept continuity with Saw 6 and the insurance agency.
I'm glad they're making people like you that rewatched all these films happy. Like, it's paying it off for someone, I guess.
I rewatched 15 hours of Saw, and out of it, I got a reference to Saw 6 and the insurance agent. So damn it, I'm going to take what I can get.
Are these all happening, like, within the same week? Like, how tight is this continuity?
Okay, so I found, if you're interested, Jacob, I can send it to you. But, because I'm like, what about the continuity? Because, well, Arnie was watching these, I was also watching these. So I found on Reddit, somebody had actually spent the time to figure out what year things happened and when and where to insert things in the timeline. And it is the most batshit crazy timeline ever. I mean, it is insane. And all three of us, obviously, we are aware of Days of Our Lives, right? Jacob, you're aware of it. It is some Stefano, Celeste, and Marlena level shit. I mean, it's just like bonkers, this timeline. I got a headache reading it because it's so intense. And I'm like, wait, so almost like you have to have the timeline ready and printed. And as you're watching a movie, you can compare it to the timeline. It's just stupid.
The first few movies take place within a year of each other, and then there's some years that pass after that, but they all take place around the same time. If you watch them again, you never see iPhones, you never see modern technology really. Here, they went back. I did love when John Kramer is doing his research on this Peterson group that he has to use an old web search and it's old hyperlinks and really web 1.0 stuff. That made me smile.
Yeah, no, I remember we'll never see an iPhone in these because they started before iPhones and they're all taking place within a year or something, but that caught me off guard. I'm like, what is this busted ass browser he is using? I'm like, oh yeah, this is like 2005 or something. He's on an e-machine probably.
Although for all their accuracy with this, I noticed Jigsaw's email address was kramerjohn994@gmail.com. Now I looked this up. Gmail started in April 2004, so if he had a Gmail address, John Kramer was on the bleeding edge.
You got that early invite.
Yeah, I don't think the Peterson group would have had so many videos even back in 2004, 2005.
No!
Those things would have been stuttery and low resolution and hard to load, but yeah, they did go and try to make it look like a janky-ass website.
Good job, they succeeded there.
And this film was shot all in Mexico City, so I think that's why John goes to Mexico instead of to Norway. And he is traveled down there where he meets Cecilia Peterson, Synnøve Makodi Lund, who we covered in one of the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo movies.
The Spider's Web.
Okay.
I think that was the last one.
And she's the daughter of Dr. Peterson, who came up with this treatment, but he's in hiding because Big Pharma is out to get him because they will lose money if his cure for cancer is revealed.
Now, that is very true, actually, as far as finding a cure to cancer. Arnie and I used to work at a hospital corporation, and the CEO would gladly tell you that if there was a cure for cancer, that they would not partake in administering it because they make so much money off cancer treatments.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's room for some great satire here. Have Jigsaw go after Big Pharma. We have the opioid epidemic. That's going to happen years later after Jigsaw's dead in real time. But yeah, like the fact that he's going to be going after these grifters, and it's kind of just joyless. Like a lot of this opening, like 40 minutes you're saying of all this setup, which is like, why? It feels like a soap opera.
It's not great cancer drama, I'll say that much. I mean, I'm torn. On the one hand, having rewatched these Saw films, I can say, as you pointed out, Jacob, a lot of times we just start with people in a trap and then we're told, or maybe if we're lucky, we're shown in flashback the things that they did to deserve being in this trap, the things Jigsaw's trying to teach them not to do. And it's not very fulfilling. And the term torture porn really does apply to some of these where you just have people thrown in a trap and you're not sure why. I think the worst offender is the one with Julie Benz, where they're all a bunch of people who are involved in arson of apartment complex as part of a real estate development firm thing. It was really convoluted and hard to follow. Here, we're being shown setup, and they're giving us some character work, and we're seeing John as a person, not just as a serial killer Jigsaw. I want to applaud the film for trying to do that. At the same token, this is not a great cancer drama. We are not going to cry over the fake treatments. I'm not becoming invested. This is not My Life with Michael Keaton, a movie I will admit pulled tears out of my eyes. This film, we know how it's going to end, as Marjorie pointed out. We know he's not going to be cured. And so it's really prolonging a lot of time. I could see a lot of people who love the Saw franchise really fucking bored while they wait for first trap to happen.
I mean, I don't love this franchise and I'm really fucking bored. Here's the thing. I know it's this modern trend where you want to show villains in a sympathetic light and their backstory, and they're not just evil, like circumstances led them in that direction. But I feel like we've got all those heartstring pulling segments from Jigsaw. Like, we didn't need that. Like, I remember something happened with his wife and she was pregnant, and just a lot of awful things have happened to him. I've seen him deal with health insurance agencies and all of that. So, like, this feels unneeded. If their goal is to make him more sympathetic, you've already kind of done that.
Yeah, he has had a rough life. And I wonder if something like this would have worked better as a prequel rather than an interquel. And it was pretty lacking on the things that make Saw movies, I felt.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the fact that they showed us the first trap was the guy responsible for the wife's miscarriage, this could have been a great Saw origin of evil movie or something like that. But yes, here, he's really just taking a break from Jigsaw. I'm surprised he had this much time between Saw 1 and Saw 2 and he's not just welding new traps together and things.
I do love, like, after he gets this surgery, he thinks he's in remission. Like, you see him sitting at the park, he's drawing a trap, and he's like, maybe I don't need this anymore, and, like, tears it out of the notebook and crumbles it up. I'm like, this is kind of great. Like, if this franchise had a sense of humor, this stuff could be a lot of fun, like, seeing Jigsaw question his life goals here.
It is funny to think of him just at the park or at a coffee shop drawing these intricate methods of torture and brainstorming.
not just a great engineer and architect, but also just a great artist. Like, yeah, those sketches are fantastic. And I love, like, he's going to find out he really connected with this young woman at the clinic and wants to bring her a bottle of tequila or something. And he's like using math, right, to find out where this secret location was because they like covered his head. They pretended to be like muggers to throw him in a van to take him to this facility. So he's got to look at the radio tower and do some trajectory and mathematical equations to figure out where to go.
I didn't catch that till the second viewing, but I was wondering how he knew where to go. I thought he was drawing more traps or something, but no, he's using his engineering knowledge.
Yes.
And the view of the radio tower that he has from this coffee shop and what he could see the radio tower from the secret location of the hospital to geolocate where this hospital would be so he can take Gabriella an expensive bottle of tequila.
I didn't really get the feeling he connected with her. I thought that was kind of a weird thing that he was going to take her a bottle of tequila. I mean, their interactions were very brief. She seemed like she was nervous or skittish, which reinforced my belief at that point that this was all a scam because she was clearly acting. And it seemed weird and out of character that he would do that.
I mean, everything seems weird about this setup, which puts me on edge that, like, this is not real. The fact that, like, we're not going to put you under during this surgery. We're just going to anesthesiology you.
Well, that's common in some brain surgeries.
Okay.
They do test motor function with certain things. I don't know what kind. You can Google it, guys. Don't at me about brain surgeries, but from what I have read, there are some types of brain surgeries where they either wake you up or have you mildly awake because they need to test motor function or speech function or something while they're doing scrambling, whatever they're doing up there.
Yeah, that freaks me out even more than eyeballs.
The fact that they're going to call it out, just like we're stupid moviegoers, you go to sleep when you get surgery, like it makes me wonder, oh, there's something else going on when you're going to do something out of the ordinary like that. But yeah, all of our, at least what I knew happened, is going to get confirmed when he finally triangulates that radio tower, goes back to that chemical factory or whatever they were using for their hospital, and finds it's been like trash. Again, this is very strange. If you're some kind of grifters, either just leave or take all the stuff with you. Why is it like flipped over? I did wonder, is Big Pharma going to be the bad guys? Did they raid this place and like he's going to go after Big Pharma to get his revenge on them? But no, they just trashed their lab as they're on their way out.
I thought they just grabbed their stuff and they just broke a couple of things and ignored it or forgot a couple of things. But I did think that they were just clearing it out. And yeah, they wasted no time. I don't know how many people that they tried to rip off at that location.
We'll see a whole board of names later.
Yeah, when John comes in, there is that guy I mentioned in the plot summary. Sears is pretending that he just got healed, but I don't know if they do one per location or if John was just the last at this location and they were kind of lucky or unlucky, I suppose. If they'd been pulling this grift on somebody else, John wouldn't have known. Now, the thing that gets me, I've never had brain surgery, I've never had skull surgery, but when I have surgery, I know I've been cut open. The pain is pretty immense. You really need that pain medicine. I know they tell John he's on some pain medicine. He's wearing these bandages over his head. I have to think you would know if your skull was, first of all, shaved, and second of all, cut open.
Yeah, they're so lazy, they don't even really shave him. Like, they pretend to, and I was shocked when there wasn't a shaved patch in the back of his head.
Well, and they covered the pain thing by him having to take these special vials, which I'm pretty sure are water, in that cooler where you take it twice a day and includes pain medicine so you don't hurt.
It's a drug cocktail. If you take a shot every time they say drug cocktail in this film, you'll have like 3 or 4 shots, but it's a lot of times. If you're a doctor, I don't think I've ever heard a doctor say, we're going to give you a drug cocktail.
No.
The other thing is, I thought during the surgery scene where we see John getting surgery, that they were really opening up his brain, that they were really doing something. I mean, that's what I would do if I were grifting, is I'd really perform a surgery.
You'd really open the brain up.
Well, yeah, you got to convince the person. You got to get a drug addict doctor who needs money for gambling and blow in order to make this work. But my biggest laugh of this film, you say there's no humor here, Jacob.
Intentional.
I think it's intentional that what they had on the monitor there wasn't John's own brain surgery, but a, like, how to do brain surgery home DVD.
I did find that kind of funny because, like, if those exist, I've never seen one when I've been at, like, Goodwill or Salvation Army, but I'd love to find one.
Brain surgery at home with these 5 easy steps.
There's probably some YouTube videos now you could use, but they didn't have that then.
I'm sure that they could have come up with a better way and less labor intensive way to scam people out of this amount of money. I mean, they didn't have to pretend to cut them open or anything. They could have just sold the drug cocktail for that, because when you're experiencing something like that, you will absolutely pay anything to survive and get it going. It seems, again, the long con, complicated con, a lot of different people. I mean, never trust a junkie. We know that. I mean, Christ.
Although he trusts Amanda. I have a question for you, Marjorie. Jacob, you already said you didn't see a trailer, but you knew early on that this was a scam. Marjorie, when did you know that this was a scam? Did you know before the big reveal scene where John takes off his bandages and sees there's no incision?
Yes, I actually suspected it was a scam at the coffee shop, because if this was the case, people would have been all over this fake treatment. And then when he was talking to her and she said that she was running it and there's just happens to be one spot left in the trial that she could get him in, I'm like, okay, this screams scam. And then at the end of it, where I was like absolutely 1000% sure, was when he's laying in the hospital bed talking about wiring the money.
So finally, we're going to get to the kidnappings. And gotta say, on the second viewing, everything was set up, because how could he find anyone? Everybody is blown to the four corners. The first person he's going to get is that cabbie who took him most of the way to the compound, who also... This is a terrible scam. You don't use your cabbie as your doctor, but that's what they did.
I was really against Jigsaw here because I'm like, how do you know this cabbie was in on it? He seems legitimately surprised when those guys with guns came to kidnap Jigsaw earlier and take him to the secret location. But yeah, they do a flashback. He was actually the doctor too, as well as the cabbie.
Yeah, you'd think with as much money as they're robbing people from, they could afford one other person than the cabbie. And the cabbie did say he was giving like tours of local sites while driving John to that hospital. And he's like, here's this statue of the old Aztec god where they used to cut people's hearts out.
I was waiting for a heart to get cut out.
Me too. Tourists have me bring them here all the time. So John knew that the cabbie was going to end up at that location.
So that was just set up so John knew where to find him, not for foreshadowing of a trap later on.
Correct. Although there is a trap that has an Aztec's mask that looks just like that statue later on.
Yeah, but no heart comes out. It's so confusing.
It is. So he gets this cabbie and we finally get our first trap, and he has duct taped the guy's hands with scalpels at the end and wired pipe bombs onto both forearms. This guy has to cut the bombs out of his arms.
Okay, so I have a question here. What was the time frame between when John realizes this is a scam and when he picks up Diego, the cab driver? Now, let me preface this by saying John appears to be a very brilliant engineer who can come up with these elaborate traps and all of this setup and everything. But I don't think him and Amanda can build all these freaking traps so quickly. So is this like months? Is it weeks? What's going on here?
Well, we'll find out. He's using like an x-ray machine. Was that one that was in that lab already? Yeah, building pipe bombs. Does he have this stuff just ready to go?
Well, you can build a pipe bomb pretty quickly. I mean, that would probably take you like an hour if you had the supplies. That's not even like a big deal. But like the other things, like the mask.
I think this happens very quickly because they're trying to flee Mexico. You know, they're trying to get the hell out of there. They abandoned that hospital. They only gave him 7 days of the drug cocktail. So it's less than a week between the time that they fake his surgery and he discovers the hospital is empty. Now, this Diego thing happens very fast, which could explain why John is using duct tape instead of some complex hand contraption, as he had to be fast, because he doesn't know who these other people are. He has to get this cabbie, and before he even gives the cabbie the test, he's interrogated the cabbie, because Diego says here, I've told you everything you want to know, wondering why he still has pipe bombs on his arms. So we'll see in a brief flashback that Diego gave him the names of all the people involved, and that Jigsaw called Detective Hoffman, Costas Mandalore, who we're not going to see or hear yet, but he calls the detective, and somehow Costas Mandalore knows how to find people in Mexico City.
Well, I think he calls him to find Henry from the beginning. Yeah, because that's when we'll see Costas Mandylor return is with Henry. So that was the one loose end, I guess, from this interrogation.
At the end, we'll hear Detective Hoffman say, I've given you all the information except for Parker Sears. You'll have to find Parker Sears on your own. So Hoffman's able to give him the location of all the others. And I guess it's kind of a weird thing. I guess he's like, okay, this Valentina is the nurse. She's a prostitute who hangs out at this club. Gabriella is a drug addict. She goes to this bar to get high.
And does this jive with the continuity? Like between 1 and 2, he got Amanda on board. He got Costas Mandylor on board. Like I thought these were all like dribbled in throughout the franchise, but they were all ready to go after part 1.
Costas Mandylor wasn't introduced in part 1, but through flashbacks, we see he was involved even before part 1, and Amanda was also involved before part 1, and she was fully integrated by part 2.
So they could just do prequels. Like, it seems like there's a lot of story to explore how he got these people on board.
Well, through all the flashbacks, they've already explored so many prequels.
Okay.
Yeah, but they didn't bring in the coroner from Jigsaw.
And I'm disappointed that they didn't get Carrie Elways back. It would have been nice to have Carrie Elways back as the doctor telling Jigsaw bad news again. Instead, we just have this other doctor telling Jigsaw, oh, you should just die easy. That seems like a Carrie Elways moment, but
yeah,
Carrie Elways is too big doing 30-second scenes in Mission Impossible films to do a 30-second scene in a Jigsaw film.
But you know who's not too big to return is Shawnee Smith, who, yeah, she's the one actually doing all the hard work. I guess Tobin Bell, he's got the cancer. He can't drag people through clubs and all that. So Shawnee Smith, as Amanda, is going to be going around in the pig mask in this awful, like, branding situation that Jigsaw has of abducting everyone.
Yeah, it was clear that that was her because there was no way he was doing that to any of the people.
I didn't realize it was her. I knew she was returning, but I just figured that was Jigsaw. But no, it is Shawnee Smith quite a few years later with a really bad smoothing filter put over her face that was really distracting.
Is that what it was? She did look interesting.
They did not have money to deep fake this.
No, they did not do the Marvel de-aging where Robert Downey Jr. looks like he walked off the set of Less Than Zero and onto the set of Civil War. They didn't have that kind of tech, but something about her looked strange and I couldn't put my fingers on it. I thought it was just the bad wig.
It could have been that. It felt like a cheap, like maybe they just used their iPhone 15 with the Snapchat filter on or something to smooth her out. It was very distracting.
That explains why her face moved unnaturally then, too.
She moves unnaturally. Her whole body, it's like she's not allowed to move. She has to stay stiff. So this filter never like shimmers off her face.
Yeah, it was odd. And that wig, oh my gosh, that was so bad.
That haircut was bad.
But back to Diego and the pipe bombs, he does survive the trap, you know? We don't really see it too often in Saw movies that people survive the traps, and what does Jigsaw do if you do survive the trap? Here, Jigsaw's right there with a medical kit. He's like, all right, let's bandage up these arms. You pass the test. You're gonna get healed.
Yeah, we'll see it with the character later. He's like, okay, let's get them to the hospital. And I figured this was setting up that, yeah, Diego was coming back. He was going to be on Team Jigsaw for the torture later on, but we will never see him again.
Now, I will say, I mean, if there's anything you can say about Jigsaw is he has honor. If you survive, you survive. And if you're lucky, which I think Amanda's the first person to survive other than, Carrie Elways. Carrie Elways and Amanda, and he takes them both under his wing and makes them apprentices. So he does have honor, even though he's a serial killer and a torturer.
Remember, he doesn't kill anyone. They kill themselves.
Yeah, they're going to repeat that line here, that he is not a killer.
So many times.
So we do get this kidnapping montage where we get to see a brief moment of everyone's life. I did have a question. Valentina, the nurse, we're going to find out she's a prostitute by day. That's her day job, and her night job is grifter. That's a strange thing. But she is trying to get a John at a club, and the John gets upset finding out she wants money. No dinero, no sexo. And he is going to try to rape her in the back of the car. Did Amanda kill him? I mean, the car window breaks and we don't see him again. On 2 viewings, I can't quite tell what happened to him.
No, he was pulled into some trap. Saw 11, we'll see his continuation. You can't just kill them. That's not how Jigsaw works.
No, but Amanda's a little bit different, and the fact that this guy was about to rape a girl, I mean, by horror movie logic or any movie logic, that guy deserves to die, except for Back to the Future, Biff.
But Amanda's really complicated, and the fact that she was former junkie and she has like sympathy for Gabriella because she is also a junkie. So what Amanda does is, and she's also a hothead too, as we see John calm her down numerous times when wanting to hurt people, or she gets angry so easily.
But all these people get kidnapped, and now we're finally in a Saw film. We're going to get traps. Trap 3 comes pretty quick after Trap 2, and this is going to be Valentina, the nurse prostitute. And this one, ooh, I squirmed a little bit. She has to cut off her leg mid-thigh using a Jigsaw, and if she doesn't do it in 3 minutes and suck out some bone marrow from her femur, 3 ounces of bone marrow, then she's going to be beheaded by a Jigsaw.
This is where I start getting kind of confused. I'm looking for what is the twist here? What's going to be the big reveal during that final montage we always get in the Saw film? And one of the things I noticed is Cecilia, the doctor who headed up this whole grift, like she seems to be cheering everyone on, like she wants them to get out of it. She's like, you just got to do this, Valentina. Like, you just got to cut that leg off. Just go for it. Like, she wants everyone to succeed. This all ends up meaning nothing, but I all thought this was clues for some big surprise at the end.
It kind of is, because you think Cecilia's friends with these people, and later on we're going to find out she's like, you know what I saw every time you killed them? One less share I had to pay.
But why is she cheering them on then to get through these traps? That's so bizarre.
I'm wondering, okay, because at this time, Jigsaw was not a well-known serial killer. I am assuming not worldwide famous like he later becomes, I guess.
Cecilia does know him.
He's super famous. They know who he is in this.
That's true. So maybe it seems odd that she was cheering him on now. Maybe she thought that they all could survive if they cheered each other on, you know, like group positivity. There's no I in team, you know, that kind of shit.
But I guess Valentina, she just took too long to start cutting her leg because, like, it wasn't that Jigsaw rigged this, that the pump was slow, because she starts sucking that marrow out, but I guess just not enough gets on there in that 3-minute time limit she has.
I think she and I both forgot she had to pump the marrow because she cuts off her leg and I'm like, wow, she did it. And she just stops. And then it's Cecilia who's screaming, you have to pump it. I'm like, you mean not only do you have to cut your own leg off, but you have to insert this pump in your own femur? That is cruel. And you only have 3 minutes?
Yeah, later on when a dude has to drill into his head, Cecilia has to tell him, like, hook up the compressor to the drill. Like, this is unfair. Like, you should get instructions. You should be able to assemble your tools before the timer starts. I'm calling foul on Jigsaw.
I don't think 3 minutes was long enough to do what they all had to do either. I mean, it seems like it would take you longer than 3 minutes to saw off your leg, even if that is a super sharp saw and you're doing it because you have to counter in panic. It's almost like it's unwinnable, which again is not the point of Jigsaw's traps, but it feels like these were unwinnable.
The other thing is, I mean, I don't know why I'm trying to interject any kind of logic or realism into a Saw film, but wouldn't you, A, go into shock?
Yes.
B, have massive blood loss even with a belt tied on your leg?
That tourniquet was not tight enough.
No, nowhere near tight enough. I mean, the pain, everything else, I just don't see this as a winnable task. So she was getting beheaded no matter what. It is kind of funny how she falls on the floor in 3 pieces, though. Her head goes one way, her body goes another way, the leg is just there on the floor.
Yeah.
And this is a Saw film. This is what we're used to seeing, is the tests are not really winnable. But then we're going to take a breather a little bit. And I really noticed the pacing on the second viewing. We were supposed to do Trap 4, which was Gabriella, but Amanda, as you pointed out, Marjorie, doesn't want to do her fellow addict like that.
Something that I thought they were setting up for another big plot twist with, Amanda sympathizing with Gabriella for having that drug addiction. They'll have a lot of words about it, but it never amounts to anything.
And then we get what is perhaps the most fun scene of this entire movie, though, is it seems like Jigsaw and Amanda have left Cecilia's cell phone on a wheeled table. And so Cecilia and Mateo, who was the anesthesiologist, and Gabriella are all tied up trying to get the cell phone. Cecilia's like, we need a rope. She grabs some bit of metal, cuts out Valentina's intestine, her large intestine, and it becomes this like 40-foot rope that they start tossing around.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you could lean into this more, like, this could be real fun, but I feel like Saw films never want to have this kind of fun here. But yeah, you do get a moment where tossing these intestines around and pull this tray. Like, we've seen Saw films. We know that tray was set there exactly where it needed to be to bring about some kind of trap or something from Jigsaw.
I wonder if John and Amanda were up there like, we made it so they could just use their coat. Why is she cutting out that intestine?
Yes.
So I looked because I was really curious, and I know you guys probably are too. So the average intestine is only 15 feet long. That's including small and long.
This one was super long.
Yeah. And it can only hold 8 to 25 pounds inside. So I imagine it's not that strong to be able to pull a wheeled cart over, but it did make for a fun scene. So there's that.
On the second night, when there was actually a crowd in the theater, I heard reactions. I heard people groaning at the intestines, and maybe they were envisioning like I was the smell, because when you cut out an intestine, especially, I don't think Cecilia is a skilled surgeon. If you puncture that intestine when you're cutting it out,
yeah, all the waste coming out of it. Ugh.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, that's like a biohazard upon a biohazard because of the waste. But I did find, just in case anybody was wondering, it will stretch to 162.81% of its original length before breaking.
Okay. I mean, it's really long, this intestine. It's more than 15 feet.
Yeah, it is.
But they could have used it. They could have lassoed it. It's funny, though, Arnie, you say crowd reactions. I did not hear a thing from the few people in my theater. The only reaction I ever heard was a yawn during the cancer trauma stuff at the beginning, but never heard any screams or anything throughout the rest of this film.
But she does get a cell phone call off, and Parker Sears must have lived in the neighborhood, because it is not long between her phone call and when somebody's banging on the door. We're not supposed to know that's who she called. We're supposed to think she called the police or something. But she called her lover, Parker Sears, who had previously pretended to be a throat cancer patient who had just undergone surgery.
I thought she might be calling. There was these two guys that put on masks that abducted Tobin Bell to take him to this secret location. Maybe that was Parker and Mateo just with masks on. It doesn't seem like this is a big group, but I thought maybe she's calling those two bodyguards, but maybe they were already playing double roles like the cab driver was.
It honestly seems like using the hooker and the junkie might have been just something you pay them like $100 for, or give Gabriella some drugs. Like, they're not part of the overall scheme where she's scamming people. These are all just local people she found to do some work while she was blowing in town.
Oh, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. But yeah, she's leaving them all behind while she and Parker go place to place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Parker does show up. He has a gun. Like, he's going to pretend he's there to get his money back, too, that he's been ripped off. But if you saw that trailer, they're going to show you the scene. But as soon as Jigsaw takes that gun, I'm like, oh, he's going to put it there. I just thought the bullets would be gone. We're going to see that he took each bullet apart and emptied the gunpowder out. So I guess the weight didn't feel different when they held that gun. But, like, come on. We know where this is going. I don't know why they're taking so long to get there.
All right, this fooled me. I saw the trailer, but I didn't study the trailer, and I didn't realize this guy was going to be part of it, and I thought he'd be more pissed off. If somebody offers you a cure for your fatal cancer and you find out it's a scam, I think you want the kind of revenge that Jigsaw is getting here. You want more than your money back.
Sure.
You want blood. You deserve blood. And so when this guy's there, I could understand flinching a little bit at the type of traps that Jigsaw has put together, but I think you'd want to put a bullet in Cecilia's head. You'd want more than just your money back. And so the fact that all he seemed interested in was a refund did catch me as a little bit suspicious.
Well, what's odd is, as they're going through it, there are like 34 other people that have done this, and they said all of them died. So did they actually fake surgery in all of them? Did like somebody have like stomach cancer and they faked an incision? What the hell happened there? Because they obviously didn't cut his head open.
I think they wrap you up and tell you don't take those bandages off for 7 days. And by that time, they're gone. So when you take it off and realize there's no scar there, oh, I've been scammed. And yeah, but you can't find them anymore because they've had a week to get away.
It just seems like this would have made, like, I don't know, would be a bigger deal because that's 34 people. And if people are going to fake surgery in Mexico, then...
I figure that's going to get around, like, at the cancer support groups. Like, hey, guys, there's this scam going around. Don't fall for it. Don't go to Mexico.
Yeah.
But it's time for another victim. Like, let's get to another trap. Mateo, who's the anesthesiologist, he's going to have to cut his own head open.
That was a little bit of interesting. It didn't bother me. The leg kind of bothered me, but this one, I was more interested in how he was going to cut open his own skull, which he only had like the video camera on his head and could watch on a monitor. I mean, I am not coordinated to do that. I would totally die because I'd be like, wait, what am I doing?
Look, we all tried to cut our own hair during the pandemic, and that didn't go well for anyone.
Yeah.
I ended up with a mohawk.
Yeah, that was my fault. Sorry. I am not a hairdresser. But I mean, I would be so uncoordinated in this. Plus, you're under pressure because you only have 3 minutes to do it. It's like, Christ, just, oh my God, can't you give him a better setup to do it?
Well, and I didn't go to my medical journal to look at the different lobes of the brain, but I feel like if you got to pull out part of your brain, like what if you pull out the coordination part or something? Like maybe Jigsaw led him to a part of the brain that didn't really matter, where he could just pull out chunks of it and he could still move and not be lobotomized.
Oof, this is bothering me for that reason. And the other thing is, this no longer looks like a surgical, sterile environment. Even if he rips out a piece of his brain that is non-vital to his task, he's going to die of infection here.
No, Jigsaw would have taken him to the hospital and got it disinfected. He takes very good aftercare if he survived these tests.
And I don't know why, again, I'm trying to insert any kind of reality, but my understanding is you need little clamps to clamp off like the blood vessels around that area of the brain so you don't bleed out when you actually have brain surgery. This guy would be a mess of blood up there. It wouldn't just be a clean brain sitting there. And how would John ever get him to the hospital to be fixed back up after this?
I mean, what is this trap? Of course, Mateo doesn't do it in the 3 minutes. This Aztec mask closes around him. We saw that it was like shocking him earlier. This just, cooked him or something? We never see a fried face.
Yeah, it heated up like an air fryer. Like, it heated up and then closed on his face. And, like, I imagine incinerated his head.
Yeah, it looked like a toaster. It got, like, hot red coils.
Yeah, I think I'd go with that instead of cutting open my own head. All of these, I'll wait the 3 minutes and, like, head cut off. That's a very sharp blade. Like, yes.
You won't even know it happened. I mean...
No, like, I'm not going to hurt myself, like, to live. I guess I don't appreciate my life that much.
Trap 3 and 4 would be the quick ones because you wouldn't know really what happened. I don't think your brain would register your head being cut off that quick and clean. And I think the mask would probably, you might feel a little bit, but again, it happens so quick where you're rendered unconscious and then dead, you wouldn't even realize it.
But because we're pretty far along in a Saw film, there's almost no time to breathe between Trap 4 and Trap 5. As soon as Mateo is killed by the toaster oven of death, then it's Gabriella's turn. Amanda can't stave that off any longer. Gabriella's up for her game. They have this radiation machine that's going to shoot radiation and burn her unless she can smash her own foot and her own hand to free herself from the chains.
And she was going to start with the hand because she's like, there's a chain connected to the floor to her foot and then one on the ceiling that has pulled her up that's connected to her hand. She's going to start with her hand and then Cecilia's like, no, do the foot. You'll swing out of the way. I'm like, no, do the hand because you'll just fall down. Like, you're not going to stay levitated in the air. Like, you'll fall down. It seems like it'd be much easier to get out of that than what she has to do. Like, yeah, I thought there was going to be some tension between Amanda and Jigsaw here, because she's made such a big deal, like she's just a junkie like me and I don't want to do this to her. But if there were scenes like that, thank God they're cut. I don't want this to be longer, but they're not in this film.
Yeah, this was, I don't know, an interesting trap because honestly, I feel that she'd get such a dose of radiation anyway, she'd end up dying in a few weeks.
Yes.
She broke her arm or legs and she got out, or her hand and her foot, but the dose of radiation she got, I'm pretty sure that's lethal.
Yeah, those radiation burns are not healing anytime quick.
No, it pretty much turns your insides to liquid.
I did laugh, though, because as you mentioned, Jacob, she does her foot first and swings out of the way of the machine. And I'm like, oh, well, then she doesn't even need to do her hand. And then the machine moves to track with her. And so that was kind of funny that Jigsaw had foreseen this. Jigsaw foresees everything. He's basically a psychic.
Yes.
And she's going to survive, though. She's going to fall to the ground with bad radiation burns. And Jigsaw's like, Amanda, get her to a hospital. And yeah, like Marjorie said, he has some kind of twisted honor. He's going to make sure she gets fixed up, except Parker Sears has grabbed the gun and is not going to let that happen. This is our first big twist.
Well, we'll call it a twist. I don't know if it's big. Like, I saw this coming. But this is where I kind of turn against the film. Not that, like, I was hating it or that I'm going to end up hating it, but, like, I'm sitting there, I'm on the fence, like, where's this going? Can you do something that surprises me, or is there something more to these characters? When Cecilia is just like, oh, no, I'm a villain now, and I'm going to step on Gabrielle's neck and, like, break it and kill her, I'm like, why were you cheerleading them on the whole time then? Like, this feels like just bad writing. Like, okay, now we got to let you know that she's not honorable and that we could root for her. I was already rooting for her to die. She's a grifter. Like,
It is a bit much when she steps on Gabriella's neck. That is, first of all, I think you'd need a lot more pressure to break somebody's neck, even if they had just suffered radiation burn. Second of all, it is just too evil a trick. And yeah, they're going to tie up John and Amanda, and to prove that Cecilia is even more evil and deserving of the worst possible torture, she's going to be like, we need somebody innocent to make John feel guilty. Let's go get this little boy outside and torture him too.
okay, Arnie, you saw this twice. John didn't set up Carlos showing up outside at that moment. Like, that wasn't part of his game. Like, this is so weird that this kid is just, like, showing up to play some kickball against the old chemical factory door all of a sudden.
At like 4 a.m, no less. And what the hell is going on here?
Yeah, they don't even set up Carlos's dad. They just call him the caretaker. But there was a moment of bonding where the day of John's surgery, he's woken up because this kid is trying to fix his bicycle wheel with a hammer. And John's going to go out there, master engineer that he is, and make that wheel as good as new.
He's going to learn some Spanish, which I know is going to come back in the third act.
Of course. There's nothing accidental in Jigsaw movies.
Some call that good writing.
It's just so obvious in this franchise.
Yeah, it is obvious, but it's not extraneous stuff in the script.
No, there's a lot of extraneous stuff in this script, but not that part.
And yeah, I think this trap, Parker's going to say to Cecilia, you're the only one left, but the trap John had there was made for 2 people. Who was the other person?
I picked up on that.
I think that John thought it would be him and Amanda. I think that Carlos was truly the one thing John didn't see coming, but he thought that Cecilia would tie up him and Amanda.
And I thought John was hedging his bets. He knew about Parker. Did he know he was bad right away from his initial investigation? I thought maybe he didn't know which way he was going. That's why he sat a situation for all scenarios. Like, we could trap him in this room. We could trap him down here. Like, that could have easily been Cecilia and Parker being bloodboarded.
My understanding is that he knew Parker was in on it from the beginning.
Okay.
But yeah, we're going to get some bloodboarding here. Trap number 6. It's little boy Carlos and John. This trap, I suppose eventually you would drown, but it doesn't seem very fatal. It seems like it's going to take a lot longer than 3 minutes. Of course, John assumed he'd be the one in this trap, so he wouldn't make it as fatal as the other traps.
Well, do we get a time limit on this one? I feel like you could just keep doing a seesaw back and forth over and over so neither one of you drown. I didn't see a clock going like something was going to kill both of you if one of you didn't make a decision.
No, there was no clock.
Yeah, and it wasn't Jigsaw who put them in the trap. So because Jigsaw didn't set up the trap or put himself in the trap or put someone else in it, that it didn't have the full effect. So you don't get the timeline. You don't get, you've got to do this to survive. It appears just to be like a blood seesaw and that's it. And perhaps a diversion to get them up to the office and get into the final trap.
John's just lucky that they got bored. You know, this kept going on and finally Parker's like, forget this, I'm going to go get the money. Just leave them in the trap. Personally, if it were me, I'd just stand there and watch. I would just wait for them to finally die in this trap and try to enjoy it because they just killed all my associates and were going to kill me. Now, maybe I'm more sadistic than Cecilia, or maybe I'm just in a horror movie mindset. But yeah, the fact that they race up to get the money and just leave John and Carlos there and Amanda just to watch, it's like, that's too convenient.
Yeah, the fact that they're both going to go up there so they could both be trapped. Like, I could see where this is going. He wanted them in that office because that's where the final trap is going to be.
And it makes sense that neither one of them would trust the other with the money. So that makes sense why they'd both go to get the money, though.
And when they get the money, that's going to trigger the final trap. It ends Carlos's and John's trap. John knew they'd go for the money before he died, and that would stop the bloodboarding and start the gas chamber. And I guess that's twist number 2, because we're going to get our big flashback here. They're finally going to bring in the hello Zep. Da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da.
Yes.
So I guess this is a twist that John had seen all of this coming.
That's what the music is telling me.
And that, yeah, this is when we get the flashbacks of him calling Hoffman and Hoffman saying, you're going to have to find Parker on your own. And flashbacks because he had told Parker, Cecilia's going to burn you. You just don't know it yet. And all of that. And haha, this gas that is filling the room is going to burn them.
Yeah, what is this trap? So we're going to fill it up with gas. There's only one portal you could stick your head out of so you could breathe. So they got to fight over that portal. So we'll have Cecilia kill Parker. She's going to stab him, I think, with that same rusty bar that she cut those intestines out with. But the gas, like, goes away, right? By the end, like, she could take her head out. She's not dead here.
That's how I take it, is that she survived her trap.
But the gas was also causing their skin to blister, so wouldn't that porthole be useless?
I just figured the porthole would like close around her so she couldn't get her head back out and she would like just starve or dehydrate to death or something. It feels weird that she could like just get out and show up in the next in-betweequel or whatever we call these things.
Yeah, I think John gives everybody a chance. He had that line in the movie. This is not retribution. It's a reawakening. He's not going for vengeance. If she passes her test, she gets to live. Did she learn anything from this? Has she learned to be a better person and not grift? Is she just going to be too afraid that the next person she grifts also happens to be a serial killer? I don't know. It's kind of an unfulfilling ending. Cecilia is the head of all of this. She deserved to get her head cut off or something like that, you know?
Yeah, they kept alluding to her dad and like, no, he did have this legitimate thing. Maybe that was more of her grift, but I'm like, is he going to get her head in the box because he was in on the grift too? Like, something needs to happen to Cecilia, just not stuck in this office.
It was very unfulfilling that she seemingly survived the trap as well. I mean, of all the people to have a death like that or a trap, it seems like hers should have been more involved and involved some sort of picking the right cure because she did a fake cure. Like, she had to decide. And I think they did that in, I don't remember what one it was. It's one with all the people in the house and there's 3, I think it was the movie Jigsaw, where there's 3 shots and one is an acid, one is nothing, and one is a cure to what is going on, I guess, there. And that seems like that would have been a good trap for her, but now that I think about it, they've done that. But it would have made sense for her.
I agree.
And I'm sad that I know that, because I just watched all those movies.
And it's kind of a weird ending to the film. Is John and Amanda, they had the key the whole time. They unchained themselves. They give little Carlos the bag full of money. So now Carlos and his dad are rich.
They're going to be murdered by the cartel for showing up with like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Or they're going to start a cartel. I mean... And they just walk out of this chemical factory, whatever it is, and Saw X fades onto the screen and credits start rolling. I'm like, that is a weird, sentimental, happy ending of the 3 of them going out of the building into the sunset for this kind of film.
I thought so as well. Like, it was bizarre when that title came up. Yeah, we had all that cancer drama at the beginning, you know, pulling at the heartstrings, and now we have this reunited family, I guess.
Although Carlos does not come back to the States, as we know from Saw 2 and on.
Yeah, he could have been a good apprentice. Maybe he's the apprentice in Mexico, and that's like the next prequel.
Him and Diego, the cab driver, are heading up the Mexico chapter of Saw, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Saw 11. Rompes y Besas. That's Spanish for Jigsaw. But no, there's a mid-credit scene. Is Costas Mandylor the Samuel L. motherfucking Jackson of Saw? Do we want Costas Mandylor so much that we stay through the first part of the credits to get his cameo? Is he so busy he can only do one day on this film?
Yeah, I guess most people people knew about this was coming. I knew about it because Arnie had texted me, said, hey, there's a mid-credit scene, but there's only a few people that got up and left, which I thought was weird. Like, usually it's only Marvel films that people are sit through the credits for, but most people knew to sit there for this mid-credit. I guess Henry's gonna finally, I don't even know what the trap is. Like, I felt bummed that they didn't explain, like, what he was gonna have to do. Even if they don't show the whole thing, it just feels like he's getting tickled at the end on his belly.
I did, in my notes, I called that trap the tickler. It's razor blades, but it looks like it's just coming for his stomach, like it's going to tickle him or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was odd. One, I didn't know Costas Mandylor was in it. I'd asked Arnie and he's like, I don't know. Because he kept it from me. Because again, I knew nothing going in except for Saw Patrol and that it was an interquel or 1.5. And this was a surprise. It was kind of like Sam Jackson. Thought it was kind of interesting. I think Costas Mandylor is the Stefano of the whole series. And I don't know what that trap was. And I don't know if that means we're going to get a 1.75 or a 2.5 or whatever the hell you want to call it. But it seemed like it was just a torture device. And you usually don't get Jigsaw in the presence of a trap like that, standing next to the person with the device on and knowing that Costas Mandylor killed Strom. Again, I watched all these with Arnie and I have all this knowledge in my head now.
Yeah, none of these names mean anything to me that you keep mentioning.
The guy that got caught in the smashy walls by Costas Mandylor, the great scene where he pushed him into the glass coffin, it shut.
Yes.
And he goes down through the floor and the walls close. Yeah, that guy that got killed in there. Because that Costas Mandylor is more the vicious, sadistic arm of Jigsaw, where Amanda's like the sympathetic and people deserve a chance arm of Jigsaw. And oh my God, what has happened to me?
Yeah, no, this is a real Old Testament, New Testament, Jehovah versus Jesus Christ situation here. Law or mercy.
Yeah, you lost me there. Sorry.
I love it. I love it to death. But do you love it to death? Marjorie, Jacob, do you recommend Saw 10? Marjorie.
Okay, so I have this problem with movies like this wherein I walked out of it, I'm like, hey, I think that might have been the best Saw movie as far as it goes, because if you don't think too hard about it, it's an interesting story. A guy gets revenge. It could stand alone, that kind of thing. But then we talk about it and I'm like, what is this shit that I just watched? It wasn't bad. It was better, I think, than 2. And I'm going to say it probably is the best Saw movie aside from 1, which was like a holy shit, people are doing something new with horror. And, you know, they did a really good job with a very small set. It seemed like, because pretty much the bathroom was that set. There are some flaws with it, absolutely. There's some scratching head moments. There's some stuff that doesn't live up to the Jigsaw lore / history that we see before this movie, but we have to pretend it doesn't exist. So I don't know. I feel that if they'd made this movie like somewhere as a prequel without Amanda, it would have better explained why he was so adamant about being mad at doctors and then kidnapping the one doctor in 3 and trying to get the brain surgery done to relieve the pressure, that kind of thing. I don't know. I thought it was a good movie. I started to get really irritated at the beginning because I thought, oh my God, they're going to go into this whole long thing. It's not going to be a Saw movie, but it paid off. And while the traps weren't as good as they have been in the past, these are kind of lazy Jigsaw traps, which I guess you could take them as him honing his craft a little bit more. But yeah, I'd recommend it. I think it was a good Saw movie. I don't think it's a necessarily good movie that you could be without seeing the other movies, because it has a lot of fan service in it. But I think it was the best Saw movie after 1.
Jacob.
The best Saw movie. That's something I had read when I was sitting there waiting for that mid-credit scene. The people that did leave that theater early before they got that final trap, that's what I overheard them saying as they walked by me. Wow, that was maybe the best one. And I don't know, maybe I need to go back and watch all of these. I'm not going to do that. However, I will say it's not part of the series, but there is a movie called The Reconciler, which is a Christian film where Jesus is Jigsaw and puts people through tests, and it's hilariously bad. These are never that hilariously bad, though. They're all kind of just mediocre to me. Like, I want something more, I don't know, campy. Make it about ivermectin or whatever the current grift is. Make Mitch McConnell have to read a speech in 3 minutes without glitching and freezing. Like, to me, that would just be more fun than, I guess these Saw films are always kind of weirdly serious, which is just not as fun watching people have to cut off their legs and lobotomize themselves when you're supposed to be taking it so seriously. I don't know. It's not awful. It's probably middle of the road. It's like, I feel like all these Saw films, it's pretty much a flat line. Like, the quality doesn't dip or peak that much from installment to installment. My big problem here was Cecilia when she makes that turn where, like, no, I am just a mustache twirling bad guy that's gonna step on people's necks and break them. And I don't know. I needed something more here. Whatever it is, coming up with a better twist, better characters, cutting out a half hour of the cancer drama. Again, I'm not going to say this is the worst thing because I feel like all Saws are like probably 2.5 stars for me. They're all just kind of like, yeah, they are movies. And if you like this kind of thing, this will probably scratch that itch for torture porn. It's just not my thing. I don't find a lot of fun in this. And yeah, with horror, strangely, like I either want to be really troubled or have some fun and be able to enjoy gruesome death. And like, I never have that kind of feeling with these Saw films. So it's mediocre and it's a mediocre, not recommend, mild, not recommend.
And yeah, I'm going to give this one a recommend. I'm going to say something. It's been a long time that we've been doing this podcast, and I've noticed that as I've gotten older, I think I've gotten more squeamish. I think that when I did my Saw rewatch, I winced and went, ooh, and had to look away more than I did the first times I watched these films. And Saw 10 got that reaction out of me. When Valentina is cutting off her leg, or when Mateo is cutting open his skull, both of those got visceral reactions out of me. I thought, yeah, the traps aren't as elaborate as we've seen in the past, but Jigsaw didn't have all that much time to set these up either. He was in a hurry and in Mexico and working with whatever he could find. I would have liked that A-Team scene. You know how in the A-Team they always had the montage of them putting their special weapons together, having a montage of Jigsaw building the traps and going to...
You want him and Shawnee Smith with the welding tools out and yeah.
Going to Ace Hardware or whatever they have in Mexico to buy some of the stuff. And where do you go to buy a Geely saw? But yeah, the traps got some wincing out of me. On the second viewing, I feel like the pacing is off. The first 45 minutes of this film could have been trimmed. They said that originally this film was longer and they had to really cut it down.
Impossible. There's no reason.
Yeah, it's ironic that you have to cut a Saw film down, but that it was running too long. They hoped that the people didn't feel short shrifted by what was edited and that they didn't feel things were too rushed. Oh, I did not think things were too rushed. I thought things were a little bit too slow.
The opposite.
And yeah, I just didn't feel the drama at the beginning. Best Saw film, I've ranked them. And this ranking may be different than in the past, but having just rewatched them all and reevaluated them all, I will say this ties for the third best Saw film. My favorite is Saw 3, strangely. I just really liked the one with the father who was mourning his child too much and had to go through all those traps.
That's my memory. 1 and 3, I think those are the ones I recommended.
And 1 is my second favorite. And then this ties with Saw 6 for me, which I thought was kind of fun in a silly way. And then Saw 4, 2, right borderline right there. Then 5, Jigsaw, Saw 3D, or Saw the Final Chapter, whatever title you want to use. And bottom of the bunch for me was Spiral. That thing was just so nonsensical. Chris Rock may have had an idea, but it was not a great idea. I did not find Spiral to be that good. But this movie is doing very well. It's expected. I had read it was going to open somewhere between 10 and $15 million. They're saying now that it's looking like it's going to get between 18 and 19 million opening weekend. It's not going to be number one. Paw Patrol wins the Saw Patrol weekend, but
Paw Patrol's gonna beat this?
Yes.
People are seeing that in theaters?
Apparently so. But Saw's still doing pretty well for that. So will we get Saw 1.75? Will they continue this? I think what it shows is people want Jigsaw back and not just some copycat. People want to go back to those original films and have Tobin Bell and Shawnee Smith and maybe even Costas Mandylor in their Saw films.
Did Donnie Wahlberg die in his? Bring him back. Do a whole New Kids on the Block reunion in one of these.
Oh, yeah. He died pretty definitively. His head was smashed together with 2 big blocks of ice.
Oh, okay. That was him. I remember that death.
Yeah, he was hanging and then the 2 giant blocks smooshed him.
So who knows? Maybe they're going to rush out Saw. I mean, it was interesting to me that we're reviewing Saw in September, as I felt like, remember the tagline used to be, if it's Halloween, it's Saw, but I think they got the hell out of the way of Five Nights for Freddy, or Five Nights at Freddy's.
Or The Exorcist.
Yeah, which got out of the way of Taylor Swift. Everything's moving dates.
Taylor Swift, the new face of October.
It was Jigsaw. It's now T Swift. That's funny.
I mean, it's Taylor Swift. She can do whatever she wants, apparently.
But we will take a break from our Saw series. Now, if you're a patron, we have our October patron exclusive review this Friday. It's a noir horror film that I hadn't heard of until I watched it for the review, but it's picked by one of our patrons. It's Mickey Rourke and Robert De Niro.
And Lisa Bonet, branching out from The Cosby Show.
Wasn't this the one where she was trying to get kicked off, though, and there was nudity?
Yes.
Maybe not trying to be kicked off, but yes, there is a lot of nudity and a lot of blood. It is sort of a horror film for October Halloween. And so if you're a patron at our Patreon or our Podbean site of $10 or more, you will get that this Friday. And a shout out to our patrons who are on the platinum tier or higher. We have a number of you guys we want to thank so much for your incredible support of our show.
So thank you, and I apologize if I mispronounce your name. I'll try my best, but thank you, Jeffrey Gaudreau, Aaron Romani, Joshua Klein, Tani Pozarekides, Martin D. Hibbets, Job Davis III, Mike Patterson, Justin Kipker, A. Nick Hosak, Jeremy Mills, Sean O'Keefe, and Andrew Morrison.
And I want to give a shout out and a thank you to Gerald Lavelle, Jeremy Conrad, John M. McKittrick, Timothy Graham, Simon Brennan, Alejandro Avila, Tom Ward, Sean Burgess, Darker Hue Studios, Kent Lyons, Andrew Doran, and Maurice Wendell.
And I would like to thank Benjamin Timmers, Rob Clark, Joshua Straw, Trevor Harrison, Sean Williams, Tommy Woodward, Jeff Wade, Eileen Rivero, Chris Hargrave, and Lucy Rodriguez.
Thank you all so much for your support and being a patron. Now, also, this is the last week to donate for our spring-summer donation drive. Summer is officially over, and our donation drive ends this Friday. We did our last spring-summer review last Friday. We reviewed Expendables 4, or Expend-4bles, depending on where you want to put that number. Brock Stewart and I finished off that series, and you can hear all of the reviews of the Piranha series, all the shark movies we did, Open Water, The Shallows, The Meg 1 and 2, 47 Meters Deep 1 and 2, plus reviews of all the Expendables films. You have just until this Friday to donate, and then we'll be starting finally our winter donation drive. So thank you to everyone who's donated so far. You can find the details on how to become a patron or become a donor at nowplayingpodcast.com/donate. And again, it is your support that keeps our show going. If it wasn't for you, we'd have to cut our own leg off and be beheaded because we wouldn't be able to keep this show going. You could say this show costs an arm and a leg, or at least a leg, to keep going. And Marjorie, Jacob, thanks for playing the game with me.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Now Playing Saw Movie Retrospective.
Congratulations. You are still alive.
Please leave a review for us on iTunes or post about us on Facebook, Twitter, or your social media channel of choice. You can find more Now Playing retrospective series at our website, nowplayingpodcast.com. Series include Halloween, Friday the 13th, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Child's Play, Phantasm, and others.
This is the most fun I've had without lubricant.
The Saw films, all audio clips and music used are the property of their respective copyright holders, and no infringement is intended. Venganza Media Incorporated is not affiliated with the motion picture reviewed or otherwise referred to herein. The trademarks Now Playing and Now Playing Podcast are the exclusive property of Venganza Media Incorporated. The opinions expressed on Now Playing are those of the individual hosts and may not reflect the opinion of Venganza Media Incorporated. Now Playing is a Venganza Media production, copyright 2023, all rights reserved, and no part of this show may be reproduced, repurposed, or redistributed without the written permission of Venganza Media Incorporated.
Game over.
Yeah, Yeah, well, they made a whole horror movie about it called Copycat with Harry Connick Jr., actually, which don't watch it. It's terrible. No one should let Harry Connick Jr. act. Stick to singing, guy.
Even his small part in Independence Day, I agree.
Oh my God. How can somebody with so few lines deliver them so poorly? But I digress.